just hand over now to Trish Jones, who's General Manager for Regional Partnerships for BT, who will kick the session off. Trish.
Thank you very much. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the person here who is responsible for making sure that we can provide mass market broadband, not private circuits, high-mix circuits to schools, community centres. This is about what we can do, my particular presentation, in bringing mass market broadband solutions to people actually in their home. And how do we do that and retain the shareholder value of our company? All right, I don't have the luxury of making investment decisions that are dependent upon public sector funding and contribution. That's the challenge for BT, and that's the one we've been wrestling with for the past 3 years, in fact. So let me just move on. As you all know, we hit a huge milestone last week, 2 million broadband users, of which 1 million are ADSL, and catching up with Europe considerably now, just to sort of get the debate in perspective in terms of our relationship and what's happening with the rest of Europe. The penetration is still not at the top end, but we're in the top 10 now in terms of growth in Europe. All right, so for every 100 people in the UK, there are 3.9 people that are actually using broadband. 21 million have got availability to use broadband. So only 1 million have actually taken advantage of this fantastic opportunity. Okay, our growth rate, however, is nearly 300%, and that is actually one of the fastest in Europe. So something is definitely happening in the UK, and I think stuff like you're involved in is absolutely brilliant, because we're actually moving from the first sort of fast adopters. You know, we've reached the point where those that, you know, understood this, the people that know, they know with regard to broadband. We're now moving into the realms of people who don't know what they don't know about broadband. And that's the key point. We've got to demonstrate the way in which broadband can actually bring value to the people that want to use it. Okay. Where we are now compared to last year, this time, we had a huge investment push. We actually took broadband to 66% of the country over a period of about 13 months. And at that point in time, we had 140,000 users. Huge dilemma. What are we going to do about this in terms of the economics of us taking this forward? Incidentally, that was a point at which I was actually working in Cornwall with the Regional Development Agency, and at the invitation of themselves and the Objective One office, because at that point they'd just secured their position with EU funding, and they wanted to really catalyse and do something different. And at that time, I have to say, there was probably only one exchange that even remotely we would wish to look at from a commercial position at that time. I'll talk a bit more about that. But since then, what's been happening? We're now at 71, actually this changes sort of by the day, we're actually about nearer 72% now, with over 1,400 exchanges. We've currently got a large number in build, including, as you know, we've been dropping the trigger levels continuously through the last year as we get much more innovative about the way in which we deploy, the technology backbones that we put in, the supply relationships that we have. We announced trigger level drops last week across the board of about 50. We're currently now aiming at the 79%. By March, we will be at 85%, based on the way in which the triggers are clicking over and we're going into build. So that's where we will be by March, and we're announcing very imminently, I look at my watch, okay, the next 400 exchanges plus. So we will be committing to build towards 90%. The issue that we have with you is, can we speed the rollout and deployment of that up? That's where we're willing to go now. We have no constraints, unlike in France, despite their recent announcement that they are similarly adopting a pre-registration approach. we have no constraints over the pace at which we would wish to take that out. Okay, so that's where we are now. We moved from the registration scheme allowed us to move from the we will build it and they will come, where clearly not a lot was happening for us, to how do we try and get some form of market-led, some demand-led approach to supply. And that's what gave birth to the pre-registration scheme, which we launched this time last year. As a result, 1,000 exchanges have been through this scheme, and we're actively working now with over 600 campaign groups. So if there is campaigns going on, and we do not have visibility of the registrations of interest, then that actually affects the prioritisation of our rollout. Help us to come to you. All right, you're actually helping inform where we go next. All right, and we've recently just launched last month lots of materials to actually help develop the campaign, get people on board. The box of kit stuff, we will provide you with materials to help you do this. Okay, we are absolutely passionate about extending the broadband facility into the home as far as is possible. So 90% now we could go to. We're passionate about taking that further, and part of my role over the last 18 months is working out how we do it. We've got lots of technology developments. You've talked about a lot of them here today, in fact. We're personally sort of looking at pieces around the ADSL where we can extend the reach further. The latest trials have been complete, and we're now taking orders where we can actually extend the reach further to the 5 kilometres piece, giving us at least 97% coverage in every exchange area. Exchange Activate is, if you like, our mini solution in a box, where a sponsor or an ISP or a private sponsor or a public sector sponsor can buy bundled offers of 30 connections, £45,000, subsequent bundles, £30,000 thereafter. They have the full wrap, the same as everybody else. Satellite, there's trials of also wireless ADSL and mesh radio, all of which will be complete in the next 3 to 4 months. How we then take them to market is the thing that we're looking at. Now, the partnership piece is the really interesting piece. How do we increase take-up in areas where the take-up is low? And I have to say that in places like Wales and the North East, take-up is 3%. In the Midlands and parts of central of UK, it's about 4%. So we're not even enjoying this 5% take-up nationally. What I've developed is a model, a partnership model, where we actually engage with you to segment at a geographic level. We can actually work out where the economics pay in, where they start to drop off. But we do that in a way with a demand create piece around it. So not the way that we're currently seeing demand realising itself. How do we put in place demand create projects that, if you like, give us a surge of take-up that allow us to take an investment decision outside of that which is presenting itself. This is the only circumstance under which BT will take an investment decision outside of our commercial norm. We can do this segmentation right the way through. The create demand piece under 3 is where you've got projects in place locally that help create that demand, inform our decision. We advance the exchanges, all right? Demand create moves into then non-commercial, where you may need a little bit of pump priming at an exchange level. This was the Act Now model in Cornwall. 5 is where it actually starts to be really economic, where the kind of projects that you bring in come in. But again, if we look to the region in a whole way, we can aggregate that demand and we can make different strategic investment decisions. The partnership approach, such that we don't pour lots of money into small-scale, non-sustainable solutions. How do we actually work together, mix technologies? The segmentation, by the way, is technology neutral. Where we've done bits of this, the very first model, you can see the kick that happened in Sheffield. The intervention there, just to sort of push things up, was less than £1 per customer in the footprint. Huge increase, just as a result of a city take-up initiative. Wattle 2, Bridge the Gap, Caerphilly. I know there's someone from Caerphilly here. Yourself, of course, right? Okay. Very low-level intervention here. Chorus Fund, where lots of people were out of work, bringing them the benefits of broadband in terms of the way they can set it up through the small business community. That kick at the back end there is the effect of Caerphilly on the whole of Wales. Okay? So there is something that we can do very cost effectively, very simply. We can change our investment decisions. We can go into an area. There's a huge kick on take-up. The demand presents itself in a different way. Everybody's happy. We want to take this approach further and deeper. Create demand. This is the big model that we use. Develop localized marketing, tailor to the community that touches its needs. Develop local user grants, okay, to encourage take-up. Develop pieces like Business Link, Learning and Skills Council that actually support people locally with their broadband experience, user needs analysis in a small business, how we pull them through the value chain. All of these things are being put in place in projects all around the country. There's a big programme in Devon, Wiltshire and Hastings, and as a result, we're already making investment decisions to expand the footprint way beyond what is currently commercially presenting itself. The only change to that on this model is where you start to intervene slightly at the supply side of this. Small amounts to pump prime that, if you like, lowers the demand bar. All right? Now, the main model here, it costs around £80 per customer for a whole region. Cornwall is an example of how it works. The SME penetration in Cornwall, as a result of that supported service experience, you're now in excess of 22% of the SME market. That's greater than nearly anywhere else in the UK. The propensity for take-up in Cornwall, together with some of these other super community projects, is something like 67 times more than an equivalent area in the rest of the UK. Really sobering stuff. All the intervention money, apart from a very small amount that went into BT, very, very small, most of which we're now ploughing back, by the way, has gone to the SMEs themselves. West Midlands, similar approach. They've currently got 76% coverage. Lots of good local initiatives which we're now working together with the RDA with a further injection of money, and we are developing a strategic plan to take coverage to 97%. So, partnerships work. We demonstrate that they work. They're very low intervention costs. They require a lot of patience and understanding between public sector and private sector players with mixed technologies coming together and working out how to do this. We're prepared to invest a further 12 million. That's over and above our normal investment. So it's over and above the capital investment to put the stuff into exchange. We're prepared to boost Primeless with a further 12 million this year and establish a total of another 20 partnerships. We have another 30. So we reckon that just with those small ones, we could take the footprint to yet another 1.5 million, tackling that last 3 million in the country. Also, what they do is they advance the deployment. They speed the whole thing up, both in terms of take-up, rollout, and going and tackling the last 10%. Tackling this with regional stakeholders who have an interest in their local community, understanding what the drivers for broadband are locally, working with them in a whole region approach. It could be at local authority, county council, or even whole region like was there in the West Midlands. Understanding what the agreed objectives are, understanding what people are prepared to invest to turn it into a sustainable outcome, real live implementation plans. I have spent years walking around looking at ICT strategies, and they're all the same, and they get rewritten every 6 months. Let's turn that money into real practical action on the ground, put these partnerships at the heart of what the communities require, and let's make it happen, and let's do it faster. I'm accountable for making sure that this happens in the UK, and my commitment is to work with community groups like yourself to actually ease the investment decisions and make it easier for everybody. Thank you.